Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gavin M.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary.
Very calm today, Gav?
I am very calm, Em. I feel right relaxed.
Right, relaxed. Is that because you've just finished a lesson?
I have just finished 2 lessons which were practically back to back. I've just done my 3-hour morning session and it's time to kick my shoes off, sit back and enjoy a chat with Em.
Oh, that's nice. It's good you feel relaxed after teaching, Gav. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it's nice when you do.
Do you sometimes feel stressed?
Not stressed, but I feel sometimes relieved. I suppose the stress was before that, but yeah, I often feel relaxed as well. I find it quite calming.
That's good.
It is good, because I never did before. I think at the beginning it was always a bit high-octane adrenaline rush. But as I'm getting older and wiser, I'm finding it a little bit more, of a pleasurable experience.
That's very good. So you're not sitting there thinking, I could have done that better, or what a total disaster that was.
I still have those times, but no, less and less these days, yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. So have you got some topics you want to cover this week?
I have, Gav, yes. I hope you have too.
I might have a couple of things that are worth raising.
I've been doing a lot of hotel language this week.
You've been doing it, have you?
I've been
How have
doing
you been doing it?
Elicitation.
How do you elicit hotel vocabulary, Em?
Well, that is where I want to start, Gav, because I got a little bit stuck myself and I'd like to know what you think. So the people that work in hotels, they have job titles, don't they?
The staff, yeah.
That's right. And I'm a bit confused.
Em, have you tried using my hotel staff worksheet?
This is exactly what I've been using. You've got some really great photos of people who work in hotels. So it starts with the person who...
What person that?
A person who comes and cleans the room. What is that person called, Gav?
That's a cleaner.
Is it, though? In a hotel? Because
Probably.
I'd say a cleaner is in a house.
Probably traditionally was referred to as the maid.
Yeah, that's where we got a bit confused, because maid just sounds like something you'd say 100 years ago.
It sounds a bit old-fashioned now.
So, yeah, we said cleaner, but then would you say to who's the person on the desk who takes the bookings? And
Receptionist.
would you say to the receptionist, please tell the cleaner not to come today?
Yes.
Would you? I think that sounds weird. We settled on housekeeping.
The housekeeper.
No, not the housekeeper, not the singular housekeeper, because that would be one person. But housekeeping as a concept.
That's interesting.
That's kind of what we decided. Please tell housekeeping. And then I said to my students, actually, I wouldn't say that either. I'd just say the person who cleans the room.
So if I have a look on uk.indeed.com, who are currently looking for people to take positions in hotels as cleaners, the job role is called housekeeper/cleaner.
Right. Well, you were right on both of those then, Gav. You're a better teacher than me.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's worth just checking online sometimes.
I did look, but I didn't look for job vacancies. That is thinking outside the box, Gav. Very good. So anyway, it did spark quite a long debate about what the right word is, politically correct word, what the other words mean.
You mean taking into account genders and other things?
Yeah, and just weird, stereotypical, old-fashioned tropes.
It's useful to have the internet at hand. If you're an online teacher especially, you can just double-check some of those details.
I feel like you're practiced in this.
Job titles are very specific.
Yeah. The other one we had was the person who takes the bags up to the room, which I've actually never experienced.
I would say that's me.
Exactly. If you go to really fancy hotels, sometimes you have one of these people.
That's the porter.
I think that is the universal word for it.
Not the bellboy.
Exactly. There's this really old-fashioned word, bellboy. And have you heard of bellhop?
I think I have. These are quite American terms, or maybe old-fashioned, as you said.
I guess they hop when the bell is rung, which is quite a nice visual image. I've made that up just now. But yeah, porter. Porter. That's not a word you use every day, is it?
Well, I don't stay in a hotel every day, so that makes sense.
Not those kind of hotels. So those were my tricky words this week, Gav. And what about you? How's your week been?
It's gone pretty well so far. I had a couple of interesting things that popped up during the week, and I think one of them that I found quite fun, my students were really interested in this because they actually introduced me to the topic, was The Chaos 1922. Now, have you got your computer in front of you, Em?
Yeah.
Type The Chaos 1922 into your favourite browser.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us what you find.
Ah, I know this, but I didn't know it was called this. Okay, this is a poem that demonstrates the irregularity of English spelling and pronunciation, written by a Dutch writer, traveller and teacher, Gerard Noist Trinite, I think that is, under the pseudonym of Charivarius.
Very nice. Do you want to give us a couple of verses from that?
I'm not sure, but I will read you a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Dearest creature in creation, studying English pronunciation, I will teach you in my verse sounds like corpse, core, horse, and worse. I'm not sure I said that right. I will keep you, Susie, busy, make your head with heat grow dizzy. Tear in eye, your dress will tear. Queer fair seer, hear my prayer. Pray console your loving poet, make my coat look new, dear, sew it. Just compare heart, hear, and heard. Dies and diet, lord and word. Oh, I just want to keep going and going.
That was beautifully read. Thanks, Em.
Thanks. It's very, 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 very long. That's how long it took me to scroll right down to the end. And it shows 800, that's 800 examples of irregular spelling in English. Who brought that up and why?
One of my students mentioned it, and to be honest, I had heard of a few different poems that demonstrate the differences in pronunciation and spelling in English, but I hadn't seen one on quite this scale.
It is, I think, the opus, what is it called? Opus or Magna Carta? I don't know. It's the big one, isn't it? And I don't think anyone's going to bother doing it again because Gerard Noist Trinite did it best, I think. That is a great topic for a lesson, Gav. Or is it? Did your students just find it head-achingly difficult?
Well, I was very lucky to have an advanced class and they absolutely loved reading those lines. We took turns.
I'm going to do that, I think. Maybe an abridged version, but I'm going to do that.
To be honest, there were a couple of words that I didn't even know and I wasn't completely sure of the pronunciation, but I checked in the dictionary. It was lots of fun. We had a really good time practicing those. And I said to my students, maybe next week we'll do some tongue twisters.
Always fun. I've been a little bit overworked, I think, Gav, this week. I've had a long-standing class on Friday afternoon and a long-standing class on Monday morning. And you know what that means?
I don't.
Well, maybe you don't, but that means I have to plan my next week's lessons on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I do resent that a little bit because I value my free time.
This is a really interesting topic. When to plan lessons. So take me through that again. Friday.
I finish at 4:00 Friday, which is not the end of the world.
No, it's the end of the week.
No, okay. But you know what it's like. You want to put your pens down, turn your laptop off.
Wipe the board, lock the classroom door.
Yeah, you just want to stop. The last thing I want to do on a Friday evening is start planning my next week of lessons. So then I've got the choice. I either do my planning at the weekend or I wake up super early Monday and do it then. But I've got a really long day Monday, so I'm really tired. And I just don't know what to do.
How about bulk planning?
What's that?
That's where you pick another day or another time during the week, not the weekend preferably, and plan a lot of lessons in advance.
That's what I think I'm going to do. Well, I can do that Wednesday afternoon, but...
I was thinking Wednesday. Wednesday seems like it's in the middle of the week. And
seems like, yeah, it does. Yeah, I think that's the best way. So that means I kind of carry over my lessons to the next week. continuity-wise, it's a little bit clunky, but I think that is the best option.
Well, think Wednesday rather than Monday-Friday.
Exactly, but that's quite difficult for me, Wednesday.
Maybe you could plan 2 or 3 lessons in advance. You just put a couple of hours by, so then you've got those lessons ready for when you teach them the next week.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I could plan a couple of lessons in advance, and then I suppose I'd be starting my new week on Thursday instead of Monday.
Or you could be planning your Monday classes on Wednesday, but then you might get a bit confused on which one you've planned, which one you need to plan.
Just have to be organised, don't I?
So you typically do your planning on which day?
At the moment, it's a bit all over the place. I am doing it Friday in a very tired mood.
Well, that's probably not the best time to plan the entire next week.
No, some lessons I can repeat. I have a lot of classes Monday, so I really do have to plan for that day. Some of it I do Sunday evening.
Oh, really? But that's your free time.
I know, but then by the time I've got to Sunday, I've got my energy back a bit and I feel a bit more motivated to plan it. So I get a bit fed up with one and the other. When I've done it Sunday, I think I'm not doing that again and I do it Friday. And then when I've done it Friday, I think I'm not doing that again and I do it Sunday. Or during the week, bits and pieces.
That's also a good idea. You can structure that into your working week. Say, for example, you've got an hour on Tuesday afternoon, sit down, plan a lesson for the coming week or for the next week.
Yeah, a lot of classes I have a bit of time beforehand, so I sometimes just plan it as I'm going through the week.
That could be quite stressful, though.
That's the problem.
You need to make sure you're taking breaks before and after the lessons, and you're not just going straight into planning and then teaching immediately afterwards.
Exactly, Gav, exactly. And if the lesson is a challenging one, 30 minutes sometimes isn't enough, so that can be stressful. What about you? Are you structuring your planning, factoring it into your week?
Planning?
That's why I'm asking, Gav. That's why I'm asking.
Planning?
You don't plan anything? I don't think that's true.
Of course I plan, Em, but maybe in a slightly different way. It could be simply my students are making mistakes in prepositions, and in the lesson I'll just open a worksheet and say, come on, let's just get this right. Let's nail this one. And then I might return to the same grammar point or vocabulary point the next week with a different worksheet if I think they need to return to that topic.
Are you making notes then? So you just remember what you were talking about for each group and then you can come back to it?
I make a little note for each class just so that I know that we've covered something and then I could return to that next week, or maybe I don't need to return to it because we've done it and I don't expect my students to make that mistake again.
High standards, but doesn't sound like planning, Gav. To be honest, it just sounds a bit like note-taking.
Well, I'm prepared.
Yeah, preparing.
We
don't need to get into semantics, but okay.
Planning light.
Planning light. Maybe I need to take a leaf out of your book.
It's a very light book.
It's a leaflet, brochure.
It's a leaflet. Em, should we take a break?
Sure, all this teaching and learning is making me tired.
I'll put the kettle on.
Followers, if you enjoy watching the show on YouTube, listening to the podcast or reading the transcription, show your support by visiting ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/howtoenglishpod.
And get us a coffee to show your appreciation.
Links in our show notes. Can I ask you something, Gav?
Isn't it my turn?
It is your turn, but I would like to... No, go on, you go.
What would Gav do?
No, it's not what would Gav do. Well, it is what would Gav do, but it's Gav...
Come on, Em, you've built it up now. Let's hear it. What's the question?
I remember you said to me you could make something out of nothing in a lesson.
I literally can make something out of nothing. I think I'm doing it right now.
Sure. Oh, that's a bit harsh. But you said to me you could take any little seed of a conversation that a student gives you and you can extrapolate, expand.
Em, put me to the test. I am always ready for this.
That's what I want to demonstrate, Gav, because I'm struggling sometimes to get my students talking, and you tell me all the time you can do it. So,
is it important to get them talking, though? And maybe they should be sitting down, filling in these gaps, maybe doing a listening exercise.
Those are important skills, I agree.
Perhaps they should be composing essays, Em.
Yeah, it's an all-round thing, isn't it? We're trying to give our students all these skills. And if some students are very strong at reading, writing, listening, that's fantastic. But if they are perhaps not that strong at speaking and we need to get them talking, I want you to demo how you do that. And I'm going to be the most reticent student there is.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What were you doing before the lesson started?
I made a cup of tea.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, what kind of tea have you got?
Black tea?
Oh, I love black tea. Have you got milk in your tea?
Yes.
Have you got sugar?
No.
Oh, do you not like sweet tea?
No, I don't.
Okay. What kind of milk are you using?
Oat milk.
Are you?
Yes.
Can you get oat milk in your country?
Yes, everywhere.
Okay. Is it popular?
I don't know.
Do your friends drink oat milk?
Maybe some of them.
And where do you get your oat milk from?
The supermarket.
Which supermarket?
Morrison's.
Morrison's. Morrison's? Oh, is that a local shop?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
And how often do you go to Morrison's?
I don't go there.
Do they come to you?
Yes.
Oh, tell me about it.
I order my shopping online every week.
How do you do that?
With my computer.
Oh. Do you buy all your shopping online?
Most of it. I have some vegetables delivered from the local farmer.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So you've got a local farm and they deliver vegetables, but you also get your vegetables delivered by the supermarket.
I don't have the vegetables delivered by the supermarket. The farmer delivers my vegetables and the supermarket deliver all my other shopping.
Okay, so what other shopping do you have delivered by the supermarket?
Oat milk and some breakfast stuff.
What kind of breakfast stuff?
Oats.
Oats with your oat milk?
I like a lot of oats. I love oats. Oats are great. I have them every day.
And what other things? There must be more than just oats.
Toilet paper and shampoo and conditioner for my hair and sometimes chocolate.
Oh, I love chocolate. What kind of chocolate do you order from the supermarket?
Okay, good, Gav. Thank you for the demo.
I could just go for hours
You could
and
go
hours.
for hours.
It was so interesting.
Go anywhere at all. You could go from
milk to
tea to online shopping to vegetables to so many things. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry I made it so hard for you.
It wasn't hard at all. You're quite chatty compared to some of my students.
Okay, yeah. But that does, for me, pose a bit of a challenge. I did notice you were asking me a lot of yes-no questions, but you were also asking me a lot of how, what, when kind of questions.
I think you have to find the balance with the students because you shouldn't constantly ask them to describe things that might be difficult for them to answer, where they can simply say yes or no. It makes them feel a bit more confident, and then you give them a more difficult question later.
Nice mix. And also you showed a lot of interest, so I felt like you were genuinely interested in my oat milk.
I'm really interested. I've got so many questions about your oat milk, Em, but we'll have to talk about it after the episode.
Okay, good. Thanks for that.
Have you got some tips now about how to deal with a reticent student in a conversation lesson?
Yes, definitely, Gav. I've got lots of ideas, thank you.
That's good. I think we've both possibly faced this issue that I'm about to describe to you, as we're both teaching online most of the time. Now, I'm going to do a little demo for you, and you can just show me and the followers how you deal with this technical difficulty.
That's a funny coincidence, Gav, that I asked you to demo and now you're asking me to demo. This week it's demos.
Demo week.
Demo week. Okay.
Imagine we've just started the lesson. We've connected on our favourite video conferencing app.
Hi, Gav. How are you today?
Hi, fine.
Oh, hang on. I can't hear you.
Hear me?
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear. How about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Me?
Huh? Say that again?
Me?
No, it's not working.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. Is it working now?
Now it's it seems okay now, yes. But
Rose.
right, Gav, I think you've got a problem with your connection.
Delay.
I'm just going to write in the chat. I can't hear you. I think you have connection problems. Send. Next message. Can you reconnect? Question mark.
Reconnect.
Okay, good. I was pointing in the chat box there with interpretive dance kind of explained to you to look at the chat. Gav, you there?
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh, that's fantastic. I don't know what happened there, Em, but...
Okay, it's not working again.
Okay, back in the pod.
Wow, Gav, that was real. That was actually really realistic. That is how it is.
Has that ever happened to you?
Many, 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 many times.
And that's how you deal with it. You kind of keep it going for as long as you can bear.
Yeah.
And then you type in the chat something like, try reconnecting, or I'll hang up and call you back, or shall we switch to a different platform, something like that.
You just got to chat using the app chat box. But it depends if you've got a one-to-one or a group lesson, because if you're trying to deal with that with a group and one person isn't connecting properly, which has happened to me many times, you've still got to try and maintain the conversation with the other students. Or, because often the person with the connection joins late and then is having connection problems. But obviously if they start with connection problems, you can maybe ask everyone else, what should this person do?
Oh, turn it into a lesson.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, can student A please write in the chat some suggestions? I think you spelt connection wrong, that kind of thing. You could get it going like that. They all know the problems, they all know the solutions, but to get them practicing in English, it's quite good. But yeah, if it's somebody that's joined and they're just not connecting properly, it can really sabotage the lesson.
It's a massive issue.
So what did you do?
I did exactly what you said. I wrote in the chat, please try reconnecting. It got better. I think the student also switched to a different router or their mobile internet or something. Sometimes you just have to find a bigger solution.
Yes, as many options as you can. Can you try a different meeting room? Can you go and find an Ethernet cable? Is there somebody's laptop you can borrow? Sometimes it's headset problems, and then it's just a matter of try unplugging it or use a different headset, stop using the Bluetooth, use a cable. You've got to go through the checklist of every single option, and eventually you hope you'll find the solution.
I think so.
Otherwise, you just put them on mute for the whole lesson and you pretend they don't exist. No, of course not. You don't do that.
Especially if it's a one-to-one.
No, that's true.
And also, if you find that all of the other students are having connection problems during that lesson, 8 students, you might need to realise it's actually you that's got the problem. It's not them.
That could be the case as well. Always consider yourself. Yeah.
And before we jump to the quiz, we've got a little mini grammar session because, as you know, the students just keep slipping up on some of these very common everyday grammatical points.
Yeah.
So,
are we doing another pre-quiz quiz?
This is nothing to do with the quiz. This is just a
grammar test.
A quick exercise.
Right, go ahead.
Our student is having problems with much or many.
Mm-hmm.
How do we quickly practice this? We don't want to take more than 2 minutes out of our lesson.
Can you put an S on that word or not? Is it countable or uncountable?
Oh, so there are some rules that generally apply to much or many. Very good. Can you give us examples for those?
Well, can you say pens, plural? 1 pen, 2 pens?
Good.
So what do you use with pens if you want to say how much or how many?
Many pens.
How many pens?
Because many is with countable.
Yes.
Very good. And much is used with?
Uncountable.
For example?
Well, you give me an example. What word can you not put S on?
I was going to say time, but then there are many times when I don't know what to say.
Do you want to get... Yeah, exactly. Do we want to get into this?
Let's keep it simple,
Time can be uncountable and countable.
We don't have time for these nouns.
But how much time do we have? Not much.
Not much time.
How many times have we run out of time?
Many times.
That's the difference, yeah, with S or without S. Uncountable,
that's nice. I like it. Simply put, much or many? You're my model student. Here we go. Apps.
Apps. Apps is how many? Sorry, I get it now. How many apps?
Very good. Time.
How much or how many? We've already discussed it.
Time.
How much time? Without an S.
Advantages.
How many advantages?
People.
How many people?
Very good. These are good examples. So, mini grammar lesson within your lesson. Maybe you don't need to focus too much on the grammar, but we say, okay, I've got a few words. Do we use much or many in sentences with them?
Mm-hmm.
How about since and for, Em? This often trips up our students.
Since is the time it started and continues. For is the duration, so the length of time.
Very good. Example, since.
I've had technical problems since last week.
And for.
I've had technical problems for 1 week.
Thank you very much, Em. And I'm going to give you a couple of time phrases, Em, and I want you to tell me, are they since or for? Here we go. Years.
4 years.
Yesterday.
Since yesterday.
Last week.
Since last week.
A long time.
For a long time.
I was a child.
Since I was a child.
20 minutes.
For 20 minutes.
That is a very good little mini grammar practice. We don't need to spend too long on that. We just need to remind our students how to use them. If the students get stuck, then we go back to basics, back to the principles.
Just a 2-minute out of your lesson aside to do a quick revision.
That's it.
Unless they haven't learnt it at all, and then you realise that and plan a whole lesson on that topic.
That is exactly right. Now it must be time for...
Quiz of the Week.
Now this week's quiz, is called Teaching Methods Quiz. It's from TEFL.net. And I think this will be very useful for our teacher followers.
Okay, sounds fun.
So I'm going to simply read the quiz to you. It's multiple choice, A, B or C. And maybe we'll have a very brief discussion on each of the topics. Or maybe we'll just carry on and do the whole quiz. I hope the followers are also taking part.
I hope so too, Gav.
Question number 1. What am I describing, Em? First, the teacher presents the second conditional. Next, the students try using it in structured exercises. Finally, the students try to have a conversation together using the second conditional. Is it A, PPP, B, TTT, or is it C, SSS?
I think it's A, PPP, which is presentation, practice, production.
Very good. And I think this is a method you're quite familiar with.
I love this method. This is my go-to method. Learnt that on my CELTA. I don't know what SSS is, but TTT is teacher talk time. SSS? No idea.
I think they just made that up. Number 2, students learn English by translating to and from their own language. They memorise irregular verb forms by writing them down over and over. Speaking skills are not a main focus. Is it A, the communicative approach? Is it B, the audiolingual method? Or is it C, the grammar translation method?
I think that would be C, the grammar translation method.
You would be quite right if you said C, the grammar translation method. Is it one you're familiar with?
Not as much, not really. I usually do A, the communicative approach. I like to teach by talking and then explaining mistakes. The second one, I guess, is something like Rosetta Stone or those audio courses where you learn by repeating what you hear, I guess. So yeah, I don't do the third one very often.
Have you experimented at all with translation from the student's own language into English and back again?
Yes, I have, especially online because you've got the option of Google Translate there, or some websites actually have English versions of text with other languages on the website. So you can do a really good translation exercise and then just switch it to English to check the translation. I've actually done it with menus, English menus, and then the menu in their own language. So they try and translate it, and then you just press the button and you see how well they did.
That's brilliant. That's really interesting. So you mean the menu's in another language?
Yeah.
And then you ask them to explain what's on the menu. So imagine you're in a restaurant with your teacher or with a colleague who's an English speaker, and you have to explain what's on the menu in English. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and then you just click the button that says English and you can see if they got it right. Because I don't speak their language, I need to check they got it right in case it's completely wrong.
That is very good. I've also done it in museums.
Right, because they often have two languages in their descriptions of artefacts and paintings and...
That's it. So you can take photos, if you have permission to take photos in those museums and galleries, of the signs and the information, and then take it into your classroom and say, student, all right, imagine we're walking around this museum together. I'm looking at this beautiful vase. Now, this is the information in your language. How can you describe this to me in my language? Often it's quite challenging language, and it's a really interesting activity.
That's nice. I was thinking about you having a lesson in a museum, but now I know what you mean.
Well, as long as you don't talk too loudly, it might be okay.
That works, but taking the photos is also a great way of getting it back in the classroom. Nice idea.
Right, number 3 of our quiz. Students listen to a dialogue between a taxi driver and passenger. They fill in gaps and then practice a dialogue with a partner. Tomorrow, they will go outside and practice these skills. Is it A, the silent way, B, the communicative approach, or C, immersion?
I think that must be B, the communicative approach.
I think you're right, Em. It's definitely not the silent way, and immersion, I guess, would be to push them into the middle of a crowd of people speaking that target language. So the communicative approach is the correct answer. Number 4. The teacher only uses English, but the students can use English or their first language. The teacher does not correct mistakes when her students speak English. Students can start speaking English when they are ready. Is it A, the natural approach? Is it B, task-based learning? Or C, the lexical syllabus?
I think that's A, the natural approach, like you would learn a language as a child. Very organic process.
I wonder, did you do this in your CELTA studies?
I think there was something about food and the teacher was giving us things and we had to say I like it or I don't like it, and it was all very gestural and with thumbs up and thumbs down.
You were correct again, Em. You're doing very well. That's 4 out of 4 so far. Number 5, the students learn patterns of language by repeating model sentences that the teacher provides. They memorise set phrases and receive positive reinforcement from their teacher when they perform drills correctly. Is it A, the communicative approach? Is it B, the audiolingual method? Or is it C, total physical response?
I think this is B, the audiolingual method. Learn by repeating. Parroting, perhaps.
I think it was popular a few years ago, maybe less popular now, but I'm not sure. Maybe in some classrooms you might find it as well. Number 6, ESL students at the school take part in class and school activities with English-speaking students their own age. Is this A, task-based learning, B, community language learning, or C, submersion?
It's a bit like submersion, but I think it's more B, community language learning, because you're all in a group talking, using the language to communicate ideas together.
I haven't heard of community language learning. The correct answer is actually submersion.
Oh, right. Well, they sounded quite similar.
Do sound similar.
Immersion would just be a full immersion.
It is. You are sitting in a classroom with speakers of the target language and having to communicate. So you are submerged within that pool of language.
But it doesn't have to be in a community, does it? If you're submerged, it could be you're giving a presentation or you just are thrown in at the deep end, let's say.
You dropped a point. But number 7, first, students learn how to say words correctly. Next, they learn to read and write. They use colour charts and rods, keyword rods, to help with the pronunciation of sounds. Teacher, talking time is minimal. Is it A, community language learning, B, the silent way, or C, the colour method?
I think it's B, the silent way.
It is B, the silent way. Have you any experience of this teaching method?
I did do this in my CELTA. I think they're Cuisenaire rods.
They are Cuisenaire rods. And how did you use them, or did you see a demonstration of them?
I think we used them for syllables and stress on the word, and the big rod was the stressed part. So you break the word up into sections and decide which one was the strongest sound.
This sounds very memorable.
To be honest, I remember the rods and I remember the word Cuisenaire because I thought, wow, what a great word. I haven't used it since in my lessons, I must admit.
It's not a method or an approach that you've returned to since your training days.
I do not own a set of rods, fishing or Cuisenaire.
According to the British Council's teachingenglish.org.uk, there are 3 basic principles to the silent way. First, the learner needs to discover or create. Second, learning is made easier by the use of physical objects such as Cuisenaire rods, as you so perfectly described. And finally, learning is made easier by problem solving using the target language.
Very interesting.
And finally, question 8. The teacher says commands and acts them out. The students try to perform the action. The teacher repeats by saying the command without acting it out. The students respond. The roles are then reversed. Is this A, the direct approach? Is it B, total physical response? Or is it C, the natural approach?
I think it's B, total physical response, which sounds like something out of an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, but I think it is very much direct action, reaction style teaching.
I can imagine that would be very, very good for beginners.
Yeah.
Perhaps less effective with higher level students.
Not sure. I'm sure it could be adapted, but it's definitely getting me thinking now, Gav, to all these things I learnt before, and have I used them? Do I continue using them? Maybe I should try them.
How could you introduce them into your lessons? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about this next time, Em.
I like it. I'm thinking about having technical problems in my next lesson and not being able to speak.
Is that the silent way?
Yes. See what my students do.
Total physical response.
Yes.
And you're pointing at the chat as you did in our demo.
Interesting. Thanks for the quiz. Gav, I'm off to buy some Cuisenaire rods right now. I'll catch you next time.
Em, I would love to see your Cuisenaire rods and use them myself for stressing and pronunciation practice.
I'll let you borrow them then, if you ask me nicely.
Cheers.
Bye.